Morning as thousands protest in Cincinnati, some are recalling the riots of 2001 and even civil rights protests from the 1960s. WCPO 9 News reporter Jasmine Miner has been speaking with a former NAACP president about how to make change happen. I have to believe you enjoyed that conversation and learned some things from this man, huh, Jasmine?
Absolutely. I mean, he comes with a great deal of experience. And Julie, as we see thousands start to push for more change, start to demand that. I mean, we even see these small businesses here on Vine Street supporting the protests in their own way by writing these messages on the board. Racism is real. Silence is compliance. Well, this former Cincinnati NAACP president, Dr. Milton Hinton, he was there in the 1960s. He was there for the Cincinnati 2001 riots, and he says the difference between now and then is he's never seen as many white people join in these protests. He says normally it's really only black people, but that has been different this time around. He says this protest in particular is more widespread geographically, but still he gives this warning. He says there's been too much focus on the marches and the chanting itself and not enough on the real issue. It's not just things like police brutality or fair access to health care or prison system reform. He says until we get to the root of the cause of what's systemic racism, there will always be an outrage like this, like we saw back in the 60s, and it's going to keep boiling over.
Unless there is a meaningful and strong desire to deal with the horrors of the situation, I don't believe anything is going to change except these continual spurts.
Now, when I asked, what is it going to take to get us over those spurts? He says usually what happens after you see these big protests is there's a band-aid sort of that's put on the situation, but not necessarily change that happens. He said if people really want to see change, the simple answer is vote. Vote in the elections, whether that's the presidential elections, whether that's the local elections. He says putting people of color in powerful places, whether it's politicians or the head of a police department, that's what it's going to take to see real change, because he says voting is where the power is. I'm reporting live and over the Rhine. Jasmine Miner, WCPO 9 News.